Jared Kushner, who is, as of right now, in charge of everything in America, he was asked recently by Time about the possibility that the pandemic could interfere with the November election, and here is what he had to say.
Is there any scenario, including a second outbreak in the fall, where the elections move past November 3rd?
That's too far in the future to tell. Nothing that I'm aware of now, but again, our focus right now is just on getting the country.
Will you commit that the elections will happen on November 3rd?
It's not my decision to make, so I'm not sure I can commit one way or the other. But right now, that's the plan. And again, hopefully, by the time we get to September, October, November, we've done enough work with testing and with all the different things we're trying to do to prevent a future outbreak of the magnitude that would make us shut down again.
Okay, so that's Jared Kushner. Every time I see him, I wonder, how is he involved in anything having to do with the U.S. government? I wouldn't hire him to scoop ice cream. Like, he seems anyway, but that's what we've got. That's our system. Okay, so JR, he does acknowledge there that it is not up to him, but says, we don't really know. The plan is to have it on time, but it's really going to be dependent on what's happening with the coronavirus and everything. But Trump is planning to have it on time. Okay, so I'm reassured. What about you?
I'm not. But it seemed this was a little bit out of left field for him. Of course, I don't think he was expecting to be asked about moving the election. So it's going to be an odd 25% defense of him. He tried to play it even and go, I don't know, one way or another. I don't think it's scheduled as far as I know. And I don't think we're going to move it. Why would we move it? So it seemed like he was trying to say, this is out of my hands. Mm-hmm. Is someone else talking about moving the election? And it ended up sounding like he's...
You think?
At this point, we're thinking about moving it, but not right now. I see it that way.
I hope that that's what it is, because although he does say, well, it's not my decision, I want to stick a pin in that, emphasize it a little bit. The opinion of a White House staff member has no bearing whatsoever on when the election is held. Even the president himself does not have the authority to unilaterally postpone election day, which by law takes place the Tuesday after the first Monday in November. So it's nice of him to acknowledge that it's not up to him, but it's totally, totally, totally not up to him, and not up to Donald Trump, and not up to anyone in the White House. They don't have anything to do with it, and obviously they don't and shouldn't have anything to do with it, because you don't get to determine when your re-election is held. That is not how it works.
That's the only thing he did miss, in knowing that, nugget of information that... The question could have easily been shut down by him going, that's not in our hands. That's not in anyone in the White House's hands. That's not in my hands. That's not in Trump's hands. That's not in anyone's hands, and then get it out. But he didn't know that. So, yeah, I hear it. But this is the problem. And I've said this so many times with Trump. There's a problem with having a track record of being a liar, of being undercutting our political norms and undercutting the American people for your insatiable amount of power you're looking to gain. Is that when you actually do something normal, or actually don't have an answer to something, or you think you're answering something very evenly and lightly, like he thought he was, no one trusts you anymore. Mm-hmm. Now, no matter what you say, even if it's a slip of the tongue or if it's a missing information, people go, oh, this guy again. Yeah. You know why? Because it's been countless other times when this guy really was being nefarious and looking to undercut our system of government. So just keep it real. You've gotten yourself in this position of no one trusting you because you're not to be trusted.
Yeah, there's every reason to believe that he has both by intent and also as a result of all the time he spent in the White House is just going around the world setting up deals for himself and his family and people he knows. That's what it appears to be. Like last night, really fast, because we got more on this, Tucker Carlson and Laura Ingraham and all of them were like, Dr. Fauci, why has he become so powerful? He's not accountable. Who voted for Jared Kushner? Who would vote for what Republican, what red hat wearing MAGA head would, I want Jared Kushner in charge of everything? Who would say that? Nobody. They don't have a problem with that. They have a problem with Fauci. Anyway, who's advising people and is an actual doctor. Jared Kushner is a, what? Failed Boy Scout? I don't know. He should not be in charge of the coronavirus response and Mideast peace and gun violence and all this stuff. It doesn't make any sense. Now,
quite literally the epitome of nepotism. Just keep it real. Are you okay with that? That's all. He's the dictionary definition.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to give the response because there has been controversy over that Time interview, which we showed you a portion of. Hours after his remarks generated a strong reaction, of which this video is a part of, he issued a clarification saying he was unaware of and not involved in any discussions about changing the date of the 2020 election, which is good, and I hope that he hasn't, but that does mean it was a weird thing to say. If that wasn't being talked about, then why even imply like it's up for either debate or for the White House to choose? Yeah. Now, also, Donald Trump a couple of times has been quite clear, not that it matters to him what he's said in the past, but he's been quite clear that he is not going to delay the election, saying, I never even thought of changing the date of the election. Why would I do that? November 3rd. It's a good number. No, I look forward to that election. So even when saying the right thing, it's like gazing into the abyss with his brain. But anyway, he did say it, and so that's good. The thing is, JR, I am still worried, and it's because we know that he is someone who has undercut democracy in as many ways as possible. He wants to stay in office no matter what happens, and if it looked like he was going to lose, I am concerned about him doing something. And even right now, he is perhaps not intending to push back the election, but he is doing what's necessary, or he's giving us every indication that he is going to undermine our ability to have an election with saying things constantly like, I think a lot of people cheat with mail-in voting. It should be you go to a booth and you proudly display yourself. Understand, of course, that Donald Trump last voted by mail. He did not display himself, which reassured every woman. And look, we have him just recently with the California 25th District election tweeting that the Democrats have opened a voting booth. That's rigging it by opening up a booth. These votes shouldn't count, scam. Now look, they won that election, so you'll never hear anything about the fact that it was a scam and that a bunch of the votes shouldn't count. But what if they had lost? What if it had been close?
Yep.
What if Donald Trump loses and it's close? You think we're just gonna he's just gonna be like, man, we gave it the old college try. Guess I'm gonna go back to real estate. I hope.
Let's not forget, 2016, he did the same thing right before the election. The month leading up to the election, he was lowering expectations, but all he was doing was undercutting the validity of the election system because he thought he was going to lose. Constantly said he was setting up the narrative of they've cheated me, they've cheated me, they've cheated me. It didn't happen, so then therefore he dropped that whole narrative. He's pushing and waiting for it again. That's going to be the playbook because there's no such thing as a direct loss for President Trump. He has to say it was someone else's fault. Nothing's ever been his fault. So let's set up it's someone else's fault for me losing line. He's ready for that again.
Yeah. And look, I understand if you're a Trump fan, if you're conservative, you're going to be like, oh, look at these libs implying that Trump is going to cheat things. Okay, good. Look, I hope not. I hope that it's a totally fair, free, and accessible election, that people get to participate in the election without putting their health at risk, their lives at risk. But I know that, by the way, even if we do have expanded mail-in voting, and even if the coronavirus is mostly gone and people can go to the polls without worrying, it's not like they're going to be participating in a fully functioning, awesome A+ democracy. There's going to be huge gerrymandering, and polling places are going to be stripped out of certain areas suspiciously where certain types of demographics of people live. Like, that was the norm already, was we had at best a significantly flawed democracy, and they're only trying to make it worse right now.
They're setting up an entire thing to dismantle the legitimacy of it all, just in case Americans have picked up on enough of their BS and they're tired of it. It's all this. You got to set up to undermine it, and then enough people, without them even having to do it, will take that narrative and hopefully not, but take to the streets with their anger. And you see every time people take the streets in support of them, what do? They support it. No matter if they have guns, no matter if they're in the Capitol, no matter if they're threatening people, they're looking to support it because that's what they need. Their foot soldiers to do that stuff so they can say, hey, we didn't call for that to happen. It wasn't our fault. There's good people on both of those sides. So it's subtle things to progress that energy and that feeling. Mm-hmm. And again, this will be the biggest thing that he would have to fight against without having to explicitly fight against it and say that he's doing it. But he's been doing it.
Yeah. We're going to keep watching. We're going to see. Again, that guy that got...
You said it, but it's explicitly, he's spoken against mail-in voting and he's spoken against in-person voting. What's left, bro?
Vote by TikTok.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.